Welcome to the final episode of A Closer Look at the Homeless in Our City. Let's talk about solutions. What steps can we take to reduce homelessness, and what services and programs are in place? Here to discuss some of the challenges faced by those experiencing homelessness and potential solutions is Mary Riley with Chesapeake Human Services, Nancy Tarkenton with Chesapeake Redevelopment and Housing Authority, Thaler McCormick with 4 Kids, and from Agape Feast, Sandra Shepard. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thanks, Kiki, for having us.
So, Mary, I know in the first episode we talked about who the homeless are and you gave us some numbers. Can you give us an overview and also tell us about the Resource Center that's in Chesapeake?
Sure. So the homeless in Chesapeake, as we talked about before, are individuals, families, folks like you and me who have struggled with various issues or just struggled with trauma all their lives and now find themselves unable to keep a job or able to take care of themselves and find themselves living on the streets. And our homeless are next door to us. They're, on our streets, living in tents, living in their cars. And many of them are families who are visiting 4 kids or being taken care of by 4 kids. So our homeless are just individuals, families that are just like you and me.
They could be one paycheck away from that situation.
And we have a lot of families in that situation now.
So talk a little bit about what resources are provided by the city.
Well, actually, we have lots of community partners, which makes it very exciting to be able to take care of our folks that are experiencing homelessness. But we do have the We Care Resource Center that's located at 1468 South Military Highway next to Chesapeake Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And folks can go there and take a shower, do their laundry, get lunch, access computers so they can look for a job. We can assist them with housing, connect them to CRHA or other housing resources in the community. We also have CAST, which is our Chesapeake Area Shelter Team, which is many, many churches across the city that are providing a space, an overnight place for our folks that are experiencing homelessness to sleep. And they also provide breakfast and dinner and different activities for them so that they can feel comfortable and feel welcomed. And that's just a wonderful resource that we have. We're so fortunate to have our faith-based community here in Chesapeake.
So the Resource Center is just a day center, correct?
It is a day center, correct. Hopefully we'll be moving to a new shelter operation in the next few months where our homeless can be there during the day and be there in the evening. But we still will be dependent upon our faith-based community and others to help us with the sheltering piece of it, the meal piece, and the activity piece.
All right. So Nancy, can you talk about the vouchers and the need for landlords to participate?
Absolutely. Currently, we have approximately 1,800 vouchers in use current. Various vouchers for VASH for veterans, FYI for youth coming out of the foster system, as well as the traditional vouchers. We are always in need. Even those being assisted are having trouble finding a place to use that voucher. There's a lack of affordable housing in Chesapeake and across the country overall, but especially for the program. Landlords are hesitant to participate because of perceived administrative burden, preconceived ideas about the tenants. We have a fairly simplified process, a few forms to complete, some documentation. We have staff available to help with that. We provide some pre-screening for the residents and clients, and we have a simplified, very basic HQS inspection that they go through. So it's not as burdensome as they might assume. And again, as Mary said, the tenants, the residents and clients, they're elderly on a fixed income. They're people starting out in life with entry-level jobs and incomes. They're one paycheck away from with a car breakdown or medical issues. So it's not what
Right.
people think. It's everybody.
So there are benefits for landlords to become involved.
Absolutely. As I said, we do some pre-screening. Once they are in our system, they're put on an affordable housing list or available housing list. So that helps with their marketing. If they are having issues with one of their clients, they can contact us. We can bring them in for counseling with their case manager. We currently have about 10,000 people on the waiting list. So people, once they have a voucher, have that benefit, they do not want to lose that benefit. And if they violate their lease, they may. So that
they're
gives a lot of-
motivated
yes,
to-
that gives them
to
a lot
not
of
violate
teeth
it.
to abide by their lease. So we can definitely help with that.
So Thaler, can you tell us a little bit about 4Kids and some of the families and the number of families that you've seen recently?
Well, 4Kids' purpose is breaking the cycle of homelessness and poverty for families with children. And then we really started as a shelter program. And now, over 35 years, we've expanded to be able to provide the resources to help families and children leave poverty and homelessness. So that's when we're done. That's when we win, is when families are really thriving and don't need public support anymore. So, but family homelessness has gotten tougher, like all kinds of homelessness have gotten a lot tougher. So right here in Chesapeake, where many people are less aware of family homelessness, last year we had a little over 6,100 calls from 3,300 households that were experiencing some kind of housing crisis. So that's a lot. And over 35% of them are families with children. And you can imagine, I think maybe we've all had, been parenting children. And if you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight, if the kids are moving place to place, which most homeless families are, we don't tend to see families on the street. They are mobile. So they move from family member to friend to hotel to family member. They're sleeping in their cars. They tend to be largely invisible, but that mobility is just so hard on kids.
And the lack of structure, yes.
Yeah, most of them end up changing multiple schools and even dropping out of schools altogether. So it is particularly tough right now. We have had an extraordinarily tough season this year with CAST, who is just an invaluable partner, but we normally see about 5 to 6 families in CAST, and already this season we've had 19 Chesapeake families in CAST. So it's
That's awful.
Yeah, so we're all struggling with
And this
what
is
to do.
regional
Yes,
and national.
yes. The problem is everywhere. But for us, housing is so much the core of the issue. We do have lots of families that are working 1 and 2 jobs. This family we're working with this week, Dad has 2 jobs, Mom had 1 job. They'd been paying every dime for a hotel. Mom missed a paycheck, and they are homeless. They're holding a voucher, and we're just looking for a unit to be able to use that voucher. So what Sandy said's really
And
really
we've
important.
talked about that before. I know you and I have, Mary, about how the stigma that may be attached to someone experiencing homelessness, and how it may be somebody that you work with who is getting up every day and going to work, but don't have a place to sleep at night, and they may be in their vehicle.
The majority of our families do work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the folks that we have folks that we feed in parking lots and that wait for our teams to show up in the mornings for the food to come. And the second they get their food, then they're off to their full-time job. But they just don't make enough to be able to pay all the bills, so they sleep in their vehicles. So.
Sandy, can you talk about Agape Feast and the role that they play?
So Agape Feast started, we're almost at our 4-year mark, started when COVID started, and originally it was just a meal distribution program when the CDC had asked for homeless individuals to be sheltered in hotels. And so we partnered with the city, and we basically scheduled all the different meals for the individuals who were in the hotel sheltering program at that time. And then it has just developed tremendously since then. So we do continue to feed folks living on the streets and in encampments in their vehicles. And then also at the We Care Resource Center, we feed lunches, sandwiches there. We also help support 7 local, we stock 7 local food pantries to keep those food pantries going, so people who are either homeless or housed but in need of food are able to receive food. We can honestly say that we feed folks in Chesapeake 365 days a year. And yeah, and we also provide clothing, hygiene items, and then we have also what we call Welcome Home, which is when individuals who are experiencing homelessness are able to find an apartment. We help them move in with basic items so they're able to cook and a brand new bed to lie in, brand new mattress and bedding and all of that, so they can have a sense of normalcy, because unlike any of us who, when we move into a new place, have our items to move in, they literally move into an apartment with nothing. And so if you can imagine moving into an apartment and then having such a limited income and wondering, okay, now how do I function?
Right.
Because I only have enough to pay the rent and the utility. So we kind of help them be able to just cover that gap, so they're able to have pots and pans and dishes to cook, some food to be able to eat, and the basics. So we do that, and then we also have what we call Raise One, where we're challenging every church in Chesapeake to raise one person out of homelessness.
That's great.
And so that we, will help any church kind of be able to help figure out how to lift one person, because it's not, not as easy as it sounds.
No, exactly.
It's a very difficult, thing to, kind of stay around that one person with all the different circumstances that person may be facing, the different challenges and stuff, and be able to just mentor and help and walk side by side with that person, trying to help them with their life goals.
Yeah,
So,
and I know we talked about it as well, about it's one thing to put somebody in a home, which is wonderful.
Right.
But you have to, as you have said before, wrap your arms around them and help them navigate
Right.
all of the resources, because more than likely they're going to need more than one.
Yeah, and I think if, especially with single adults, that can be so isolating. If you don't have a family, a larger family component, I think, to have kind of extended family,
Right.
community family that knows, that person knows that there's other people out there who love and care for you and
Right.
really wants the best for you, and that, they're not going to drop you after
Right.
a couple months, that they're really a resource that, you can continue to pull from. And help you with different, challenges that come up long term is a beautiful thing. So.
And I would think someone who may be experiencing homelessness doesn't want to be in that position.
No.
So it's got to be really difficult for, to feel positive about things in your
Right.
life.
Yeah.
To feel positive about themselves.
Yes.
Definitely.
We see so many folks that they really don't want to be at the resource center. They don't want to be in CAST. They don't want to be with 4 kids. They want to be self-sufficient, but just can't quite get there, and need that little
Right.
push or that little arm wrapped around
Right.
them to help get them pushed up, so that they do feel good about themselves and do feel good about where they're going and what they're doing. But, in Chesapeake, we are so lucky. We have so many wonderful resources. We have a great faith-based community, and other resources like CRHA and 4Kids, our nonprofit community. is deep as well, and so we are a resource-rich community. It's just a matter of all of us coming together and working together on whatever issue.
Right.
But mainly, I think we could solve homelessness in Chesapeake, or be pretty close.
Right. Well, I think we're doing wonderful things, and I love the challenge that you are going to pass along to other churches.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a doable, challenge, and it just, it's kind of walking that, faith walk that, we all, no matter what faith you're a part of, we all, subscribe to, and it's really, getting in the muck with someone and, helping them, live a good life and helping them out of a troubled time. And it definitely is something that I think any of us who've been through a tough time in our life, we can think of those people that have helped us when we were down.
Definitely.
And, it's just paying it forward to somebody else. So,
And Sandy and the team have done a great job setting the framework of how to do that. Because anytime there's a need, there's lots of volunteers. Everybody wants to help, but they don't necessarily know how. And so they've kind of put that down, how they can help and what they can do to make a difference. And that makes it much easier to participate.
So what is the need for volunteers across the board? What would you say, how can someone volunteer? Or how can someone help who may see this and wants to help? Maybe they don't have a church to offer, but...
Right. Yeah, I would say definitely for Agape Feast, I mean, we have things that you can do if you want to be hands-on, face-to-face with folks. We have those kind of volunteer opportunities. We have a kind of, I'll say secondary volunteer opportunities where you can work in a stock room, like supplying those teams that are face-to-face with folks. And then we have even further back things you can do in your own home, like making sandwiches and cooking, baking cookies and stuff like that. And then we have, of course, monetary donations and stuff like that. So there's plenty of ways to get involved and volunteer. Even, like Amazon wish lists, everybody likes to click. So, there's lots of ways, and we definitely need all the help and support we can, get. And Agape Feast is ecumenical, and we'll take anybody. So.
And 4Kids has, we're powered by literally thousands of volunteers every year.
Wonderful.
So similar to what Sandy said, you can be, our toy drive assisted almost 1,400 children Thanksgiving drives. We've got our roof gardens that need help. So Chesapeake Master Gardeners are really the magic behind our roof garden that then feeds, and we do about 150 meals a night for both children in the after-school programs, as well as the families sleeping in shelter. So they're, growing what they eat on the roof, and then we're cooking it in the kitchen. Again, with Healthy Chesapeake, they love to have people come in and be able to assist in the kitchens and cook, and they're doing that out of the Landmark Center in South Norfolk for both 4Kids, but for other organizations throughout the city. So there's really not a shortage. And then when we talk about our kids, one of the things we're really looking for is mentors for our mentorship program. So between middle to high school, and what we've seen is these relationships are really magical, but you need to be able to be with or participate with a child at least twice a month. But these have become very long-term relationships that have become real change moments in the lives of the children that are really struggling with their families. So, so families can find, Chesapeake folks can reach out to our website at 4kids.org or just call, and we love to get people plugged in, because what we see is that when people can actually come in and see, feel, and touch the issue and meet families and children, it really becomes less distant. It becomes less other.
Right, exactly.
And you realize that these are folks that just need a chance. So volunteering is really an amazing way to make a difference.
And you can also call 382 City.
Absolutely.
And 382 City is going to connect you to Chesapeake Thrives, and then we're going to be able to find volunteer opportunities for you as well.
Okay, and I know CAST is always looking for churches.
Yes, always looking for churches. Yes, and so we're out there trying to recruit because my personal goal would be that we would do year-round CAST, and I'm hoping that with the new shelter we can work towards that, but we need more churches in order to make that happen. Because people don't realize, yes, it's really cold in the winter, and these past couple of weeks we've experienced some really cold. I mean, to the point where I don't even know how people are surviving outside.
Either.
But the summer is just as bad. The heat can be just as harmful to folks as can the cold. So we need to be able to shelter people overnight during the summer as well as during the winter. So in order to do that, we need more churches or more groups that are willing to help out. So the new shelter will provide the space. We just need the manpower through the churches.
And we need landlords.
We need landlords,
Definitely.
absolutely.
And to be able to get landlords, we have to have housing units.
Yes.
So I think that would be my other pitch
Right.
about ways people can
Definitely.
help, is that we need to find a way to be able to increase our affordable housing stock in Chesapeake, and affordability can go all the way up to $80,000 a year. So this is our teachers, paramedics,
Right.
and we in Chesapeake really have to, and again, the whole country, but housing is local. So for us to be able to have a healthy housing stock for our entire workforce is just really an essential way to actually reduce homelessness in general.
Right, definitely.
And the one thing about having a voucher, a landlord having a voucher or being able to take a voucher, is they're guaranteed that rent every month.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
The client pays 30% of their income, and the program subsidizes the remainder, so that payment through the Housing Authority is directly deposited at the beginning of each month. So there is that guaranteed income to support the program, so that's helpful.
And for a lot of people, when you hear the word voucher or Section 8, they immediately have this, they
Idea.
envision the whole 70s, 80s project type facilities.
Right.
But now these are mobile vouchers that can just subsidize a
Right.
unit in a building. And we have family after family, individual after individual, that voucher, they can grow their way out of poverty. Most resources have a benefits cliff. So as soon as you make an extra buck, you lose your food stamps. I mean, so that's really common. The great thing about Section 8 voucher program is people can continue to grow in their careers, they can get degrees, and they just have a smaller portion of their rent being paid. So we love it, and I would love to be able to convince the community about what a great product that is to really deconcentrate poverty and lift people long-term out of poverty.
And that's the goal.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you ladies for joining me and talking about this very serious, I want to call it problem, but issue in our community and region in our country.
Right.
So I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jen.
to be here.
Yeah.
If you're experiencing homelessness or in need of housing resources, please call the Housing Crisis Hotline at 757-587-4202. Thank you for joining me as we explore the complexities of homelessness. Through the stories and information shared, we hope to inspire empathy and understanding. Remember, change begins with awareness. Consider supporting local shelters and organizations working tirelessly to make a difference. Together, we can create a more compassionate and supportive community. Thank you for being a part of this important conversation.